Defense News. It's proudly sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're a member of our nation's armed forces, the Department of Defense, or if your family is, we'd be proud to serve you too.
On this episode of Defense News Weekly, a Green Beret finally receives the Medal of Honor. Hear about the heroics behind his award. Plus, more details about the Army's plan to keep soldiers safe from drones in combat. We hear about the countermeasures the force is developing. And later, the Army rolls out a new slogan. Okay, maybe it's got a few miles on it. See what classic is making a comeback. Finally, U.S. troops head to Finland. See what they were up to in the latest round of training. It's those stories and more in the latest in news and analysis from the Pentagon to the platoon, here on Defense News Weekly. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott. The Army's classic "Be All You Can Be" slogan has been out of commission so long that chances are that your sergeant major joined up after the service went with Army of One. But times are changing. We recently visited a rebranding event to hear more about the Army's latest push for recruitment.
Here's a personal question for you. When you look into your future, do you see a life full of obstacles or possibilities? If you see obstacles ahead of you, take a closer look at this force that's been overcoming them for almost 250 years. Where you can draw strength from those beside you and make your history.
We're here today at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., where Army senior leaders Secretary of the Army Christine Wormuth, Chief of Staff of the Army General James McConville, and Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Grinston are unveiling a newly revamped version of the Be All You Can Be campaign from the 1980s and 90s to help the Army with its recruiting woes.
All of us know in this room that we in the Army, and frankly all of the military services, are facing the most challenging recruiting landscape in decades. It is a perfect time to be launching our new brand, launching our reinvented tagline, "Be All You Can Be." It's a tagline that stands the test of time. It evokes limitless possibilities for people from all walks of life, and I think with 178 military occupational specialties, the Army offers more possibilities than ever.
You know, we need every young person in this country, we need every parent in this country to know the United States Army is a pathway to success, both in and out of uniform. Whether you serve for 4 years or you serve for 40 years plus. The nation is full of tremendous talent, and we are competing for that talent every single day because we win through our people. And as we all know, winning matters. Anything is possible with the right people at the right place. And as you're about to see, the United States Army is an organization of innovators, and we've been at it for almost 250 years. These innovations have changed a lot over time, but the one thing that has not changed is the ingenuity of the American soldiers. So let's take a look.
And if you have the will to make the world the best it can be, the Army has a place for you.
And these new commercials also have some star power. The Army's brought in Jonathan Majors, star of the recent Ant-Man and Wasp film and Creed 3.
Is this the Oscars? When this opportunity was presented to me, I got to think about it hard. And I thought about a lot of guys I grew up with, and gals I grew up with, and a lot of us didn't see the options and didn't see the opportunities. We are all, in our ways, trying to move ourselves forward, move our countries forward, and move our families forward the way all these men and women in uniform have done. I'm deeply honored to stand here with you guys. I'm here to help. I thank you for allowing me to help. And go Army.
As part of this larger campaign, the Army is reaching into 15 major cities where it's struggled and underperformed in recruiting in recent years. It's also developed recruiter referral programs, bonuses, and incentives for soldiers to bring in other recruits.
We have paired our recruiting brigades with our divisions here in the United States, and we are basically we are surging into 15 cities that we've looked at that are sort of, must-win cities for us in terms of recruiting, and making sure that those divisions are able to bring soldiers, equipment into those cities and communities to sort of get outside our gates and allow people to see us more.
We need to get out in the communities and get away from our bases and camps and make sure the American people, parents, teachers, and young men and women know about the opportunities that exist for success in the United States Army.
Well, we set a very ambitious goal of 65,000 for this year, and I would characterize that as a stretch goal, given that last year we set our goal at 60,000 and we only made 45,000. We have a lot of positive momentum, and we are doing better at this point in the year than we were doing last year.
These commercials are just part of a larger campaign that the Army will unfold over the next few months. This has been Todd South with the Army Times, reporting from the National Press Club in Washington, D.C.
How do you feel about returning back to Be All You Can Be? Check us out on YouTube and let us know in the comments. Up next, a Green Beret veteran finally received the Medal of Honor, nearly 60 years after a 2-day-long battle in Vietnam. President Joe Biden awarded retired Colonel Paris Davis the nation's highest valor award recently in a White House ceremony. Here's more on the soldier's story.
This, Secretary, may be the most consequential day since I've been president. He's an incredible man. 158 years ago today, in this White House, President Lincoln was putting the final touches on his second inaugural address. And he wrote, "Let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, and care for him who shall have borne the battle." Today, 58 years after he bore the battle, we honor a true hero of our nation, Colonel Paris Davis.
That's President Joe Biden talking about retired Army Colonel Paris Davis. Recently, Davis received the nation's highest military award for actions in a brutal battle in 1965.
In the early hours of June 18, 1965, and his then Captain Davis, and his team with 3 other Green Berets were wrapping up a job well done. And together, they just finished a 10-mile march through the night to support a company of South Vietnamese soldiers on their first combat mission, a raid against the Viet Cong, thick in the jungle of Bong Sang. The raid was a success. But as the sun began to rise, the men heard that haunting sound ring out. A bugle, a sure sign of a counterattack.
Davis was a Green Beret in Vietnam when he and his small Special Forces unit encountered a much larger enemy element. Over the next 2 days, Davis repeatedly helped fight back the enemy and pull wounded comrades to safety. All of it under enemy fire and while getting repeatedly wounded himself.
Hundreds of Viet Cong began to swarm Captain Davis and his team, pinning them down in a rice paddy with no cover. Captain Davis rallied his team to fight back. Getting so close to the enemy, he was battling them hand to hand. Hours, this is the part that stuns me, hours into that fight, Captain suddenly heard a sound worse than the bugle, his teammate crying out for help. Captain Davis realized he was the last American standing. Without hesitation, he yelled, "I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you." He called in friendly fire and gave a little bit of cover to run out and rescue his team. On his first attempt to get to Team Sergeant, Captain Davis was shot in the arm and had to turn back. Captain Davis began to plan how he would get his medic. Just the day before, the medic had found out he was the good news. He was a new father. His wife had given birth to their first child. Captain Davis was going to give him a chance to see his baby boy. He pinpointed the medic's position and began crawling toward him, with gunfire and grenades still exploding around him. When he got there, the medic still alive asked him, "Am I going to die? Am I going to die?" Captain Davis responded, "Not before me." Still fending off the Viet Cong assailants, Captain Davis hauled his medic up the hill. And nearly 20 hours later, after that bugle first rang, Captain Davis had saved each one of his fellow Americans. Every single one.
Davis said he was grateful for the medal and talked about how receiving it can feel humbling so many years after the fight.
If you got to wait that long, it's like someone promised you an ice cream cone and you know what it looks like, what it smells like, but you just hadn't licked it lately. And when you get to that, store or whatever, the shop where they sell ice cream, and you pause before you pick it up, you pay as you pick it up, and you're happy when you take the first lick on it. Right now, I'm overwhelmed. This is something while you're fighting, you're not thinking about this moment. You're just trying to get through that moment.
That's an amazing story of heroism and perseverance. When we return, we hear about the Army's plan for soldiers to protect themselves from small drones. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. Unmanned aerial systems are a threat to soldiers all across the battlefield. So the Army is working on defending against them with a range of weaponry, from high-powered microwaves to new solutions currently in development. Here's part 2 of our interview with Major General Sean Gainey, the director of the Counter Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems Office.
The key to the high-powered microwave piece is we're looking at the future threat of things like swarming. We found a capability that performed better than some of the other capability, and the Army purchased 4 prototypes after the demonstration that will eventually get into the Army system for us to try and decide if we want to move forward from an Army perspective with that capability. And our next demonstration is focused on Group 3 one-way attack. So looking at different areas out there and inviting industry into the process to help us get after this in a more expedient manner.
In terms of when you might see high-power microwave capability out in the field, is that in a couple of years? How long is the assessment process going to be?
I'd say it's already out there.
It's already out.
It's already out there. We have different ways of employing that capability. It could be on a standard system, or it could be built into some of our mobile system, interceptor type system. So.
What are some of the other things that you might be evaluating in terms of technology or buckets of technology like you've been looking at other rodeos? You mentioned this next round, you're looking at ways to defeat a Group 3 unmanned aircraft system, one-way attack. What are some of the other things that you want to be able to evaluate going forward that you haven't had a chance yet?
Newer technology that we're looking at. I wouldn't say directed energy is new, but we are really framing around directed energy as a deep magazine opportunity for us, just like high-powered microwave. So as you talk swarming and you highlighted at the beginning, the mass and multiple, directed energy sounds like a great way if you get the technology to a point and have the magazine depth to be able to get after multiple and not have to shoot a lot of interceptors is a great way to go. So we're working closely. We've selected the Air Force as our service lead, working closely with the Army RICTO office to deliver a directed energy capability. We have that capability out in the field for operational assessment, and now we're just seeing at what wattage is the right area we want to be at for this particular problem set.
Okay, that's interesting. I remember seeing companies displaying, a small UAS that they'd taken out with a directed energy beam. Is there still a hurdle that you have to get through in terms of being able to quickly shoot a variety of drones in a swarm, as opposed to, holding a beam onto a UAS. That seems to take just a little bit longer than I think is comfortable.
Exactly. And I think as technology matures, we have a start point. We've demonstrated success from a start point. It may not be optimal for a large amount of threats, but as the technology matures, and the team is doing a lot of great work, with the Air Force, RICTO, the Navy, and the other services and industry. So as that technology continues to mature, our hope is that we get to that point where we're able to leverage that technology. But by being in on it early allows us the opportunity to start familiarizing our soldiers with the capability, understanding the operational sustainment constraints, and then as the technology matures, it'll just be a matter of getting the latest and greatest technology on that platform.
What do you believe is the future for electronic warfare for, aboard drones? What are you seeing already there, and how does that affect what you're looking at in terms of counter UAS?
Yeah, electronic warfare's already there and being leveraged on drones, and it's a natural progression of technology. So if you have that ability, electronic warfare, to put it on a platform to extend your reach and capability, it's going to happen, and everybody's going to probably do it. And so we expect to see that continue to escalate and continue to, maturate in several different type of platforms. And that's why when I talk layered approach, you have to have the ability. Not only we have electronic warfare counter platforms for that, and so if you're in that counter production fight, that's where you have to have a layered approach. Well, now maybe you have a kinetic effector that if that electronic warfare system for some reason doesn't work, you have another tool and you're a layer to get after that effector.
What are some innovative ideas to take on this type of thing? I've seen, for instance, active protection systems on vehicles demonstrating a counter UAS capability now. So are there ways that you're starting to see in terms of being innovative where you can take a system that does something else, but also tweak it, software, whatever, to also be a counter UAS system? So maybe a wider variety of platforms in a wider variety of formations have such a capability. How are you thinking about that?
Absolutely. There's two components to your question. So yeah, we have air defense systems that we look at to help them perform better against a smaller, slow, low type, and same with our radars. And so that's a constant evolving. And a lot of our partners, that's what I highlight to them is, you don't have to immediately go look for the next new shiny thing. Look at what you have already, maximize that capability against the threat, and then grow what you can from a technology perspective to get after the more evolving threat. And also, yes, absolutely, we're looking at different platforms, different technology. For example, the technology I highlighted to you with the high-powered microwave, it's right now, it sits on a gimbal, and the Army purchased 4 of those. But also through the Navy, working with the Marines, we're looking at different ways to employ that same type of technology on vehicles. So the technology area is what we're looking at, and then taking that technology area, and industry is doing a really good job of saying, hey, here's an innovative way to employ this to maximize the use all the way down to the operator level, because I believe they also understand that we have to have this more than central locations. We have to be able to matriculate this all the way down to the user level, individual soldier level. And so innovative ways come out of that.
When we return, our personal finance expert gives us her latest tips on using your tax refund wisely. Welcome back. On this edition of Money Minute, Navy Federal Credit Union personal finance expert Jeanette Mack is here to show you how to use your tax return wisely.
A study by LendingTree in 2020 found 1 in 4 Americans dreads tax season, but 4 in 10 rely on tax refunds. If you're expecting a return this year more than ever, you should have a solid strategy for how to use that refund wisely. Inflation abounds, and savings rates are higher than they've been in years, so saving is key. Deposit your tax refund into a high-yield savings account so you're earning more interest while keeping your funds readily available for a rainy day. Investing the cash is another option. It takes you beyond a simple savings account to putting the money to work for you. A few investment options are certificates of deposit, stocks, or bonds. The benefit of these options is the compounded interest over time. It's a commitment, yes, but one that literally pays off. So do look for investment opportunities with high compound interest rates. And finally, if you can't save your refund, the smart way to spend it is toward debt relief. Pay down or erase credit card debt, student loans, or even make an extra car payment. Bottom line, try not to spend frivolously. Be smart with your tax return and instead treat yourself to a better financial outlook.
Thanks, Jeanette. We'll see you next time. To get more coverage of military and defense topics, point your optic at Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps Times.com, as well as DefenseNews.com. And to be the most in-the-know coastie in the boat, sign up for our early bird brief for stories delivered to your inbox each weekday. It's also an audio. Check out the podcast version out now. And if social media is where you get your headlines, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. When we come back, see how U.S. soldiers are training in Finland. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. Americans joined Finnish troops to train together in the Scandinavian wilderness. And as you guessed, they did it smack in the middle of winter. They learned how to traverse an Arctic battlefield while braving the elements. Check it out.
Been assigned here to conduct a joint military training exercise with our Finnish partners, specifically the Jaeger Brigade. We got soldiers out on the range today learning how to shoot Finnish weapons, and we've got some additional staff training and things of that nature that's designed to get the American Army and the Finnish forces working together.
I'm really glad that the U.S. troops are here in the winter, because we really like and we love to show, especially the winter in Finland, and share our knowledge how to operate during the winter. And it's good that we have now the different groups to show that the things that we do here, they can learn, and also we can learn the things that they do in the similar environment. The main goal is to raise interoperability between the US and the Finnish troops, starting from the soldier level up to the task force command post level.
Breaking through the ice drill, that's practicing in the event of you or one of your soldiers falling through the ice, crossing over a frozen lake or river. We also learned some ice recce, and that's just to ensure that you have good thick ice to either move vehicles or personnel over.
Basically what we're doing today is teaching soldiers on how to survive if they break through the ice on skis. So the basic idea is they're crossing the ice in a hasty manner. They didn't have time to check the ice. They happen to fall through. So then the drill is to get all of your equipment, your skis and your poles, and your bag full of all of your dry emergency clothes back on the ice the way you came. You crawl to safe ice, then you run into the woods, change into dry clothes, and continue the mission.
Deep breaths.
Calm down, take
Throw
deep
the back,
breaths.
throw the back. Good, push it, good. Get the ski.
Look at me. What's your name?
Brian.
Okay, Brian, where are you from?
I'm from California.
Where from California?
Irvine.
Irvine?
Yeah, pretty nice little town.
And I'll tell you what they're going to see is a team of teams, one team, the White Death, that can talk, that can fight, and that can win together.
And that's all we have time for this week. Please visit us on militarytimes.com and defensenews.com for more coverage. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.